The phone call came on a Tuesday afternoon in late November. I was sitting in my living room, knitting a scarf for my grandson when my phone buzzed on the coffee table. Brandon's name lit up the screen, and my heart did that little leap it always does when I see my son's name. We talked every week, but lately the calls have been shorter, more strained. I could feel the distance growing between us, not in miles, but in something harder to measure. "Hi, sweetheart," I said, putting down my knitting needles. "How are you? How's Emma and little Tyler?" "Hey, Mom." His voice sounded tired, defeated even. "Listen, I need to talk to you about Christmas." My stomach tightened. For the past 3 years, ever since my husband Robert passed away, spending Christmas with Brandon and his family had been the one thing I looked forward to all year. It was what got me through the long, quiet months. After 37 years of marriage, the silence in this house was deafening. Christmas with my son, daughter-in-law, and precious grandson filled that void at least for a few days. Of course, dear, I've already started shopping for Tyler. I found the cutest little. Mom, stop. Brandon's voice cut through my excitement like a knife. That's what I need to talk about. Emma and I have been discussing it, and we think maybe this year you should stay home. The words hit me like a physical blow. I actually felt my chest constrict. What? Brandon, what are you talking about? Stay home? It's Christmas. We always spend Christmas together. I know, Mom, but things have been different lately. Emma feels like you're always judging her, and she's stressed enough with her new job and taking care of Tyler. She thinks it would be better if we had a quiet Christmas, just the 3 of us this year. Judging her? I had bent over backwards to welcome Emma into our family. Yes, she was different from what I had imagined for my son. She was younger, more modern in her thinking, and we didn't always see eye to eye. But I had never, not once, said anything cruel to her. I had bitten my tongue more times than I could count. Brandon, I have never judged Emma. I've always been respectful, even when what? Mom? See, that's exactly what I'm talking about. You can't help yourself. You always have something to add, something to correct. Emma notices. She feels it. Tears burned in my eyes. Was this really happening? Was my own son uninviting me to Christmas because his wife felt uncomfortable? I took a deep breath, tried to steady my voice. Brandon, please. Your father is gone. You and Emma and Tyler are all I have left. I look forward to Christmas all year. I won't say anything to upset Emma. I promise. Please don't do this. There was a long pause. I could hear muffled voices in the background, and I realized Emma was there listening, perhaps even directing this conversation. When Brandon spoke again, his voice was quieter, almost apologetic. Let me talk to her, okay? I'll call you back. He hung up before I could respond. I sat there holding the phone, feeling like my world was crumbling around me. The scarf I had been knitting for Tyler lay forgotten on my lap. I couldn't stop the tears that came then, hot and bitter, streaming down my face. 3 days passed with no call back. I went through the motions of my daily life in a fog. I taught my yoga classes at the community center, had lunch with my friend Margaret, went grocery shopping. But inside, I was broken. Every time my phone rang, I jumped, hoping it was Brandon. It never was. Finally, on Friday evening, just as I was about to give up hope, my phone rang. Brandon's name appeared again, and I answered on the first ring. Mom. Hi. Sorry it took me so long to get back to you. It's okay, sweetheart. Have you thought about Christmas? Can I come? I promise I'll be on my best behavior. I won't say a word that might upset Emma. Actually, Emma wants to talk to you herself. She's right here. Hold on. Before I could respond, I heard the phone being passed. Then Emma's voice came through, sharp and clear. Carol? It's Emma. Hello, Emma. How are you? How's my sweet grandson? Tyler's fine. Look, Brandon told you we're not sure about Christmas this year. I want to talk to you directly, so there's no confusion. My heart pounded. Emma, please. I'm so sorry if I've ever made you feel judged. That was never my intention. I would love to spend Christmas with you all. I'll stay out of your way. I'll help with whatever you need. Actually, That's what I want to talk about. Her tone shifted, becoming almost calculating. You want to see us for Christmas? You want to spend time with your grandson? Then come clean my house first. I actually pulled the phone away from my ear and looked at it, certain I had misheard. I'm sorry, what? You heard me, Carol. My house is a disaster. I'm working 50 hours a week at my new job. Brandon's been traveling for work. We haven't had time to deep clean in months. If you want to prove you're not just here to judge me and criticize how I run my home, then come help me. Come clean my house. Show me you actually care about our family and not just about being right all the time. The audacity of it took my breath away. My daughter-in-law was actually demanding that I clean her house as a condition for seeing my own son and grandson at Christmas. I opened my mouth to respond, then closed it again. 1,000 retorts flooded my mind, but beneath the shock and anger was something else. Fear. Fear that if I said no, if I pushed back, I would lose him forever. Emma, I don't understand. I've never criticized your housekeeping. I don't care if your house is messy. I just want to be with my family. That's easy to say now, Carol. But the last time you visited, you made 3 separate comments about the dishes in the sink. You reorganized my spice cabinet without asking. You told me I should be using cloth diapers instead of disposable ones. You act like you know everything, like I'm some incompetent child who can't take care of her own family. Emma, I was just trying to help. You thought wrong. This is my house, my family, my life, and if you want to be part of it, you need to prove you can respect that. So here's the deal. You come next weekend. You spend Saturday and Sunday cleaning my house from top to bottom. Deep cleaning. Windows, baseboards, behind appliances, everything. You do that without complaining, without judging, without making any comments about how I should be doing things differently. And then maybe, just maybe, you can come for Christmas. I felt like I was in a nightmare. This couldn't be real. No one could be this cruel. But Emma's voice was completely serious, completely matter-of-fact, as if she were discussing the weather. Emma, please. This isn't fair. I'm 62 years old. I have arthritis in my knees. Deep cleaning a whole house in 2 days would be. Then I guess you need to decide how badly you want to see us for Christmas. Your choice, Carol. Text me by tomorrow if you're coming. Otherwise, we'll plan on spending the holidays alone. The line went dead. She had actually hung up on me. I sat there in stunned silence. The phone still pressed in my ear. Try to process what just happened. My daughter-in-law had just demanded I serve as her cleaning lady as payment for seeing my own family at Christmas. I didn't sleep that night. I tossed and turned, playing the conversation over and over in my mind. Part of me wanted to call Brandon immediately to ask him how he could let his wife treat me this way. But another part of me was terrified. What if he sided with her? What if he agreed with this insane demand? I would lose them both. By morning, I had dark circles under my eyes and a pounding headache. I made coffee with shaking hands and sat at my kitchen table, the same table where Robert and I had eaten breakfast together for decades. What would he say if he were here? Robert had been a gentle man, always seeing the best in people. But even he would have been appalled by this. Margaret called around 9 o'clock. I told her everything, my voice cracking as I recounted Emma's ultimatum. Absolutely not, Margaret said firmly. Carol, you cannot let her treat you this way. This is emotional blackmail. This is abuse. But what choice do I have? If I say no, I'll never see them again. Emma will turn Brandon against me completely. I'll lose my grandson. I can't lose Tyler, Margaret. He's all I have left of Robert. You have yourself, Carol. You have your dignity. You have your self-respect. Don't you dare let that woman turn you into her servant. This won't end with cleaning her house. Once you give in to this, she'll know she can control you. She'll make more demands. Where does it end? I knew Margaret was right. Logically, I understood that giving in to Emma's demand would set a terrible precedent. But logic couldn't compete with the aching loneliness in my heart, the desperate need to see my grandson's face on Christmas morning. I have to think about it. I told Margaret, I'll call you later. I spent the rest of the day in agony. Every fiber of my being rebelled against the idea of submitting to Emma's humiliating demand. But every time I thought about saying no, I imagined Christmas Day alone in this empty house, while my son and grandson celebrated without me. I looked at the photos on my mantel. Brandon as a baby, as a toddler, graduating high school, getting married, Tyler's first birthday party. All those precious moments. Was I willing to sacrifice all future moments for the sake of my pride? By evening, I had made my decision. I hated myself for it, but I couldn't see any other way. I picked up my phone and texted Emma. I'll be there Saturday morning. Please send me your address and a list of what you want to clean. Her response came within minutes. Just the address, no greeting, no thank you. Just the cold facts of where I was expected to report for duty. I stared at the text message, feeling something inside me break. I had spent my whole life being strong, being independent. Robert and I had built a beautiful life together. I had raised a wonderful son. I had a career as a yoga instructor that brought me joy and kept me active. How had I ended up here, begging to be allowed into my own son's life? That week passed in a haze. I told my yoga classes I would be away for the weekend. I didn't tell anyone except Margaret where I was going or why. The shame was too great. I bought cleaning supplies, even though I knew Emma probably had everything I would need. I just needed to feel like I was doing something, preparing somehow for this ordeal. Saturday morning came too soon. I loaded my car with my overnight bag and cleaning supplies, my body already aching at the thought of what lay ahead. The drive to Brandon and Emma's house took 40 minutes. They lived in a nice suburban neighborhood, the kind with manicured lawns and young families. I had been here before, of course, but always as a welcome guest. Now I was arriving as hired help. Emma answered the door, wearing yoga pants and a sweatshirt, her hair in a messy bun. She looked comfortable, relaxed. She didn't smile when she saw me. "You're here." "Good. Come in." The house was indeed messy, but not disastrous. There were toys scattered around the living room, dishes in the sink, laundry baskets overflowing. It looked like a normal house where busy people lived. It certainly didn't require 2 days of deep cleaning. But I bit my tongue and followed Emma inside. "Where's Brandon? And Tyler?" I'd love to see my grandson. Brandon took Tyler to his parents' place for the weekend. They're having a family reunion. We thought it would be better if you focused on the cleaning, without distractions. The revelation hit me like a slap. Brandon wasn't even here. He had left, taken my grandson away, so he wouldn't have to witness his mother being humiliated by his wife. And Emma's family? They gotta have Tyler for the weekend, while I scrub floors? "I see," I managed to say, my voice barely above a whisper. Emma handed me a 3-page typed list. 3 pages. Single-spaced. Every room in the house. Every task spelled out in excruciating detail. Clean behind the refrigerator. Dust the ceiling fans. Scrub the grout in the bathroom. Organize the garage. It would take a team of professional cleaners 2 days to complete this list, and I was expected to do it alone. "I'll be upstairs in my office working," Emma said. "Text me if you have any questions. I'll order lunch for us around noon. Dinner's on your own." She walked away without another word, leaving me standing in her entryway holding a list of demands that would have been shocking even for paid help. I looked around the house, at the family photos on the walls. There was one of Brandon and Emma's wedding. I was in that photo, smiling, welcoming Emma into our family. There were photos of Tyler, that beautiful boy with Robert's eyes and Brandon's smile. And there were no photos of me. I set down my purse and got to work. I started in the kitchen, washing the dishes, wiping down the counters, cleaning the stove. My knees protested as I knelt to clean under the cabinets. My back ached as I reached to dust the tops of the cabinets. But I kept going. I had no choice. Hours passed. Emma came down once to get coffee, looked at my work, and went back upstairs without comment. No, thank you. No acknowledgement of my effort. Just silence. At noon, she ordered sandwiches from a local deli. We ate at opposite ends of the dining table, not speaking. The sandwiches tasted like sawdust in my mouth. By Saturday evening, I had completed about half the list. I was exhausted, every muscle in my body screaming in protest. I had scrubbed bathrooms, vacuumed under furniture, washed windows, and organized closets. When Emma finally came downstairs around 7, she walked through each room with her phone, taking photos of my work. "This bathroom still has soap scum in the corner," she said, showing me the photo. "And you missed dust on this picture frame. You'll need to redo both bathrooms tomorrow." I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw down my cleaning supplies and walk out. But I thought of Tyler's face, of the possibility of holding him again at Christmas, and I nodded. "I'll fix it tomorrow." I barely slept that night on their guest room bed. Every part of me hurt. My hands were raw from cleaning chemicals. My knees were swollen. But worse than the physical pain was emotional devastation. This was wrong. I knew it was wrong. But I was trapped by my own love for my son and grandson. Sunday was more of the same. I worked from 7 in the morning until 6 at night, cleaning, organizing, scrubbing. Emma checked my work periodically, always finding something to criticize. Nothing was ever good enough. The windows had streaks. I missed a cobweb in the corner. The garage wasn't organized by category. Finally, as the sun was setting and I was on my hands and knees scrubbing the garage floor, Emma came out and stood over me. "That's enough for today. You can go home now." I struggled to stand, my body protesting every movement. I looked at her, this woman who had turned my life into a nightmare, and waited for her to say something. Anything. A thank you, an acknowledgement, some confirmation that I had earned the right to see my family at Christmas. "So, Christmas?" I asked, hating how small my voice sounded. Emma crossed her arms. "I'll think about it. Brandon and I need to discuss whether your attitude this weekend was acceptable. You complained a lot, and you didn't finish everything on the list." "Emma, please. I worked for 2 days straight. I did everything I could. My whole body hurts. I'm 62 years old. I can't." "Can't?" That's the problem right there, Carol. You always have an excuse. You always have a reason why things should be different for you. Maybe if you had that same energy for respecting my boundaries, we wouldn't be in this situation. Something inside me finally snapped. Maybe it was exhaustion. Maybe it was the 2 days of humiliation. Maybe it was the sight of Emma standing there, arms crossed, looking at me like I was nothing. But whatever it was, I suddenly saw clearly for the first time in weeks. "No," I said. "What?" "No, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore." My voice got stronger with each word. "I spent 2 days cleaning your house, Emma. 2 days. I'm covered in cleaning chemicals. My arthritis is flaring so badly I can barely stand. And you won't even confirm that I can see my own grandson at Christmas? No, I'm done. If you walk away now, you'll never see Tyler again. I'll make sure of that. Then that's a choice you're making, not me. I will not be your servant, Emma. I will not beg for crumbs of time with my own family. If Brandon allows you to keep Tyler from me, then I raise a son I don't recognize." Emma's face flushed red. "How dare you? After everything we've done for you, putting up with your constant judgment, your interference." "What interference? What judgment? Give me one specific example, Emma. One real example of something I did that was so terrible it justified this." I gestured at the cleaning supplies scattered around me. She opened her mouth, then closed it. She couldn't, because there was nothing. This wasn't about anything I had done. This was about control. This was about power. Emma wanted to make sure I knew my place in the hierarchy of this family, and that place was beneath her. "You need to leave," Emma said coldly. "I'm already going." I gathered my cleaning supplies and walked past her into the house. I collected my overnight bag from the guest room, my hands shaking with adrenaline and rage and something else. Relief, maybe, or freedom. As I walked to the front door, I took one last look at those family photos on the wall. I thought about all the moments I would miss. Tyler's childhood, his milestones, his laughter. The pain of that loss was almost unbearable. But staying, continuing to subject myself to this abuse, would destroy me completely. I opened the door and walked out. Emma stood in the doorway watching me, her expression unreadable. "Don't call us," she said. We'll call you if we decide you've earned the privilege. I didn't respond. I got in my car and drove away, tears streaming down my face. I cried for family I had lost, for the grandson I might never see again, for the son who had chosen his wife's cruelty over his mother's love. When I got home, Margaret was waiting on my porch. I had texted her that I was on my way back, and she had come immediately. I fell into her arms and sobbed. I couldn't do it, I said between gasps. I tried, but I couldn't, and now I've lost everything. No, honey, Margaret said, holding me tight. You found something. You found yourself again. You found your dignity. That's not nothing. That's everything. We went inside and Margaret made tea while I showered, scrubbing away the smell of cleaning chemicals and the feeling of Emma's contempt. When I came downstairs in clean clothes, Margaret had set out tea and cookies on my kitchen table. So what now? She asked. I don't know. I just know I couldn't keep doing it. I couldn't let her treat me that way, even if it means I never see Tyler again. Brandon will come around, Margaret said. He's your son. He knows who you are, what you've sacrificed for him. Emma can't control him forever. But I wasn't so sure. Love can make people do terrible things. Love can make people blind to cruelty, especially when that cruelty is directed at someone else. The next few weeks were the darkest of my life. I heard nothing from Brandon or Emma. I sent one text to my son, telling him I loved him and would always be here when he was ready to talk. He didn't respond. I looked at Tyler's photos every day, that sweet face that I might never see again except in pictures. Thanksgiving came and went. I spent it with Margaret and her family, grateful for their kindness, but feeling the absence of my own family like a physical wound. I didn't buy Christmas presents for Tyler. What was the point? I wouldn't be seeing him. December arrived cold and gray. I threw myself into my work, teaching extra yoga classes, volunteering at the community center, anything to fill the empty hours. My students noticed something was wrong. I could see it in their concerned glances, but I smiled and told them I was fine. I was getting good at lying. 2 weeks before Christmas, my phone rang at 10 o'clock at night. Brandon's name appeared on the screen. My heart stopped. I answered immediately. Brandon? Mom. His voice was thick with emotion. Mom, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I sat down, my legs suddenly unable to hold me. What happened? Is Tyler okay? Tyler's fine. Everything's fine. Mom, I didn't know. I swear I didn't know what Emma had done to you. She told me you had offered come help clean before Christmas. That it was your idea. She said you wanted to make up for being critical. I only found out the truth tonight. How? I was looking for Tyler's birth certificate in Emma's office. I found her journal. She had written about it. Mom, everything. How she planned to make you clean as punishment. How she enjoyed watching you work. How she was going to keep finding reasons to deny you Christmas no matter how hard you worked. She wrote that she was going to slowly push you out of our lives completely. I closed my eyes, feeling validation and heartbreak in equal measure. I had known Emma's demand was wrong, but hearing confirmation that it had been deliberately cruel, deliberately designed to humiliate me, was devastating. Where are you now? I asked. I'm at a hotel. I left. I took Tyler and left. I can't be with someone who would do that to my mother, to anyone. What she did was sick, Mom. I'm so sorry I didn't protect you. I'm so sorry I wasn't there that weekend. If I had known what was really happening. You weren't there because she sent you away. I know that now. She manipulated everything. She's been manipulating me for months, maybe longer, making me doubt you, doubt myself. I can't believe I fell for it. You raised me better than that. You fell in love, sweetheart. That's not a crime. Emma is very good at making people see things her way. That's not love, Mom. What she did to you isn't love. Real love doesn't demand that you humiliate the people you care about. Real love doesn't make you choose between your wife and your mother over something as petty as a clean house. We talked for over an hour. Brandon told me everything. How Emma had been systematically isolating him from his friends and family. How she criticized everything he did, made him feel incompetent and stupid. How he had stopped recognizing himself, stopped trusting his own judgment. Finding that journal had been like waking up from a nightmare. "What are you going to do?" I asked finally. "I don't know. I need time to think. I need to figure out if this marriage can be saved or if I need to protect Tyler and myself by leaving. But Mom, regardless of what happens with Emma, I need you to know something. You will never, ever be cut out of Tyler's life again. You're his grandmother. You're my mother. And you deserve so much better than how we've treated you." After we hung up, I sat in my living room for a long time, processing everything. The validation felt good. The apology felt necessary. But beneath it all was sadness. Sadness for the family that was breaking apart. Sadness for Tyler, who would grow up with divorced parents. Sadness for the Emma I thought I knew, who had turned out to be someone completely different. Brandon brought Tyler to visit 3 days later. My grandson ran into my arms, and I held him like I would never let go. He had grown so much in the months since I'd seen him. He was talking in full sentences now, his vocabulary exploding. He showed me a drawing he had made of a dinosaur and told me about his preschool friends. Every moment with him was precious, painfully so. Brandon looked exhausted. There were dark circles under his eyes and new lines on his face that hadn't been there before. He told me he was staying with a friend while he figured things out. Emma was furious, threatening lawyers in custody battles. But he was standing firm. He would not allow his son to be raised by someone who thought it was acceptable to treat people with such cruelty. Christmas Eve found me at Brandon's friend's apartment, celebrating with my son and grandson. It wasn't the Christmas I had imagined back in November, but it was real, and it was honest, and it was filled with love. We decorated a small tree, made cookies, and watched Tyler's eyes light up with wonder at everything. "I'm glad you stood up to her, Mom," Brandon said quietly while Tyler was distracted with his toys. "I'm glad you finally said no. If you hadn't, I might never have woken up to what was really happening. I should have said no sooner. I admitted I let fear control me. Fear of losing you and Tyler. That fear made me willing to accept treatment that I should never have tolerated. Fear makes us all do things we're not proud of, but you found your courage when it mattered. That's what I'm going to teach Tyler. That love should never require you to diminish yourself. That family should never demand you sacrifice your dignity." On Christmas morning, Tyler opened his presents with squeals of joy. I had got him books and puzzles and a stuffed dinosaur that he immediately named Rory. Brandon gave me a gift, too, a beautiful framed photo of the three of us from earlier that month. All of us laughing, all of us together. "For your mantle," he said, "so you never forget that you're loved, that you're valued, and that you're essential to our lives." I cried then, happy tears this time. Not because everything was perfect. It wasn't. Brandon was going through a difficult divorce. Emma was making things as hard as possible. There would be custody battles and legal fees and emotional turmoil ahead. But we would face it together as a family with honesty and respect and love. The story of that terrible demand of Emma's cruelty and my eventual refusal became a turning point in my life. It taught me that love cannot exist alongside humiliation. That family should never require you to betray yourself. That sometimes saying no is the most loving thing you can do, both for yourself and for the people who need to see that strength modeled. I never saw Emma again. Brandon got joint custody of Tyler, and on Emma's weeks, I waited and counted the days until my grandson would return. On Brandon's weeks, I was there as much as they wanted me, helping with homework, cooking dinners, being the grandmother I had always wanted to be. Years have passed now. Tyler is in middle school, a bright, kind boy who knows his grandmother fought for him, stood up for herself so that he would learn to stand up for himself too. Brandon eventually remarried a wonderful woman named Sarah who welcomed me into their family with open arms. She never once demanded I clean her house. I think about that weekend sometimes, about kneeling on Emma's garage floor, about the moment I finally said no. It was the worst weekend of my life, and also, strangely, one of the most important, because it taught me that you can't compromise your way into someone's love. Either they love you or they don't. And if their love comes with conditions that demean you, it isn't love at all. Margaret was right that day on my porch. I didn't lose everything when I walked out of Emma's house. I found something. I found the woman Robert had married, the woman who had raised Brandon to be strong and kind, the woman who had somehow gotten lost in grief and loneliness. I found myself again, and that, in the end, was the greatest gift I could have given my grandson. Not obedience to unreasonable demands, not the willingness to sacrifice my dignity for proximity, but the knowledge that his grandmother was strong enough to choose self-respect over fear, love over control, and truth over comfortable lies. That Christmas, when everything fell apart, it was the Christmas that saved my life. It was the Christmas I learned that family is not about blood or obligation or meeting impossible demands. Family is about respect, about dignity, about loving someone enough to expect them to treat you with basic human kindness. Emma wanted me to clean her house to earn the privilege of seeing my family. Instead, I cleaned out something far more important. I cleaned out the fear and desperation that had made me forget my own worth. And in doing so, I gave my son and grandson something more valuable than a spotless house. I gave them an example of what real strength looks like. It looks like a 62-year-old woman with arthritis and a broken heart, standing up from a garage floor and saying, "No more." It looks like choosing the uncertain future over the certain humiliation. It looks like walking away from what you love most because you love yourself enough to know you deserve better. That's what I learned the year my daughter-in-law demanded I clean her house to earn Christmas. I learned that the real cleaning wasn't about baseboards and windows and grout. It was about cleaning out the parts of myself that had forgotten what I deserved, what I was worth, what I would and would not accept in the name of love. And I learned that sometimes the greatest gift you can give your family is the gift of your own strength, your own boundaries, your own unshakable sense of self-worth. Because that's what love really is. Not servitude, not sacrifice, not earning your place at the table. Love is showing up as your full self, demanding respect, and teaching the next generation to do the same.